even maybe halfway decent, like maybe it's a whole grain bagel or something,
right.
or something, some kind of carbohydrate. You're like, I'm just going to have that. What we're saying is, your body is probably going to assimilate that better and utilize that better if you just have a little bit of protein with that.
Yeah.
So still have that half a bagel or whatever, but have that with,
a piece of cheese or peanut butter or protein shake,
something like that.
Yeah.
You'll have a better. Those carbs aren't going to affect you as negatively, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is if you just had that by itself, that bagel by itself.
A bagel and like a scoop of cottage cheese would be awesome.
There you go.
A nice little breakfast.
You're saying avoid the trans fat, so maybe not the butter.
Yeah, maybe not the butter.
Yep. Or the cream cheese or whatever people have on these things.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. I think that's brilliant. So I think watching the trans fats, making sure you get plenty of anything that's going to stress your body out, like stress, lack of rest, and dehydration, I think are really big markers for cortisol. So those are just two things that are probably. It sounds complicated, but what we're saying to do is pretty easy to do. And then I would say, strengthen that core up, make your body have a reason to not hold on to visceral body fat, and then just go through with what we've been talking about. The weight training 2 to 3 times a week and a little bit of cardio here and there. I think you're good.
And last thing, we preach this like low sugar.
Low sugar, yeah.
Low sugar.
Yeah.
That's huge
probably
deal. Overall of this.
Huge deal. Yeah. And there's what they call, and I don't want to get too technical, but and again, we are live, so if anybody has any questions, but you go with what they call net carb negative. So if your fiber and your protein, if you subtract that from your total carbs, if that's less than 10 carbs, or if it's less than a difference of 10, so if it's under 10 basically, then you're not going to have a gnarly insulin spike, and it's probably a more quality carb.
See, even I don't know that formula.
Yeah, I just learned again. I just learned that recently, but that was kind of what was said. Talking with the nutritionist and things. But
I know the general kind of the idea. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know. I've never heard the calculation or nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and then sugar, based on the research, that we've talked about many times, obesity, heart disease, cancer. Diabetes and things. Sugar is
pretty much anything that we consider a health problem in the United States.
Yeah, it goes back to sugar.
Probably the culprit for most of it.
Sugar and inactivity.
Excess sugar. I mean, a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit of anything is always okay, but it's this whole and sugar's hidden.
It is.
We don't realize how much we're taking in. Yep. The average person. I bet you and I would be surprised how much we even consume, and we're probably a little more aware of it.
Right. Absolutely. I was looking the other day. I was on a trip for work, and I was at a where was I? I was at a Texas Roadhouse, and I had a piece of chicken and a baked potato, or not a baked potato. I'm sorry, a baked sweet potato, and I had. The mixed veggies and things, but they bring out the roll with the butter, the rolls with the butter, and that honey butter is. I would take that intravenously if I could.
Everything we're talking about goes out the window when we're at Texas Roadhouse.
Right, absolutely.
These rules don't apply at Texas Roadhouse.
It's like that is international waters once you cross that threshold.
All bets are off.
But they have the calorie count on there. And I was looking at it because there's times where I do order an appetizer, and there's times where I do order, do you want more bread? And it's just me sitting there, and the answer is always yes, or it's always, I'll keep my 4 rolls, but bring me more of this butter because I've already eaten it like a shot.
Whenever I go in there, even if I have intentions, I'll tell myself sometimes, I'm only going to have, I know I'm going to order chicken or steak, or both.
Or both, yeah, clearly.
And a baked potato almost every time. And
that's
sometimes
turf
I'll be like,
turf.
I'm going to only have 2 of these. If you haven't been to Texas Roadhouse, I mean, these rolls and butter.
It's worth going there to just have that, yeah.
And it pans out. I'll end up probably eating, I mean, I'd hate to admit how many, maybe 6 to 10 of those things before my meal comes.
Absolutely.
Well, that might be conservative.
Well, excuse me.
It's just like after 2 or 3, you're like, well, what? I mean, we're here, we might as well just finish it,
And here's the thing. We know that if you've been listening to us for the last 2 years and you're a regular listener, then you know I can't eat anything.
And we feel bad for you.
Right? Yeah, we feel bad for you. Good hobby. But we know that I can't eat anything. Brandon can eat everything. And we also know that we kind of promote the fact that if you're craving something, go eat that something. Otherwise, you're going to eat something healthy, and then you could eat something bad. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's times where I will order Texas Roadhouse, and I'll order an appetizer and more bread and things like that. But now that they have the calorie count on there, it made me aware that there is not an appetizer on there, I don't think, under 400 or 500 calories by itself.
The appetizer is probably the same calorie count, or close, as your
the
main
meal.
I mean, meal's probably 600 to 800, probably, which, you know.
Yeah, and so I know I can take down an appetizer plus my meal, you know, especially if I'm eating something as light as chicken and 2 forms of vegetables. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of really made me cognizant of the fact that this could easily turn into almost a 2,000 calorie meal. So going to the sugar thought with the hidden sugar, there's hidden everything. It's all hidden. There's all calories are hidden.
That's why the restaurant stuff, it's okay occasionally, but you don't want to live. I mean, seriously, like maybe once a week, once every other week, go to some kind of restaurant. But then, like we do, we pretty much promote, if you're going to go, if you're not going out every day, then, you know, have what you want. I mean, I think it's ridiculous not ridiculous, but it's a little funny, like when, you know, people go to these restaurants and they're ordering a salad.
Right.
And half the salads aren't that healthy anyway, but they're trying to eat healthy going to the restaurant. I'm like, why? Eat healthy the rest of the week.
Right.
Have fun when you go. You know,
I know it. And it's like you break down. If you eat 4 times a day, what is that? 28 meals a week, 1 or 2 meals. You know, with one maybe being a restaurant meal, and then one being just kind of like, I went to my family's house and my grandma
home
made
cooking.
Lasagna or something. Then fine, but you still have 26 meals that can be good and beneficial for you.
I mean, if you really stick to that. I mean, you will not carry a lot of excess body fat.
No.
If you really actually do that for a long period of time, I mean, it can't be a week or a month. Basically, if that's your lifestyle, it'll be very difficult. You know, there's also other ways to do that. You can do the like a little bit with each meal instead.
Right.
You know, I actually kind of do that a lot. I'll be like, okay, I'll have a little bit, maybe a carb that's a little questionable. Questionable for me would be like an English muffin, though. I'm not saying like, or maybe for breakfast I might have one of those frozen pancakes along with my eggs and oatmeal. You know, it's a little 20 or 30 gram, somewhat questionable carbohydrate here or there throughout the day. But I mean, see what I'm saying? So I'm kind of doing it each meal. You could do a small portion. Maybe not the best something.
And that's also not maybe a quarter cup of ice cream either.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like I would say like a questionable carbohydrate. Like I said, half a bagel, a piece of toast.
White over wheat bread, maybe.
And there's usually nothing on it. It's not like I'm putting. So, you know, you got to figure out what works for you, though. Right.
So, as it pertains to spot reduction, I guess the recap is just sugars, watch your trans fats, watch your stress levels, get plenty of rest and hydrate. Get your core, exercises in there, and then just make sure you have a protein with your carb or a carb with your protein, I guess.
I think if you did that, you'd be well on your way.
Yeah. So the other thing I get is I want to tone up. Now, I'm not musically inclined. I don't know if you are. Is that like learning to play the piano or learning how to read sheet music? Toning?
Yeah, I have no idea
bell
about
tones,
music.
Ringtones.
Music was one of the things that they always told me I had no aptitude for. I know I don't.
Yeah, me too.
I couldn't tell you anything about music. Toning up is kind of like spot reduction, though. It's basically when somebody says they want to tone up, I'm assuming what they mean is they want to change their composition to a little more muscle versus to fat ratio. That's what that is. It's the same thing we're talking about.
Right.
When you try to spot reduce, you can't. Really what you're trying to do is tone.
Right.
You're trying to make more muscle and less body fat.
No.
Your composition ratio is more towards the muscle than the
Well, and I know that there's people that want to spot tone too. I want to make my arms tighter. I want to make my legs tighter.
Confusing me now.
Right, I know. And
same thing.
It is the same
concept.
thing. Same concept, and especially like last week we talked about the squat. How the squat might not put on a bunch of mass on your upper body, but it's a good thing. Squat is if you're hoisting up your body weight plus some. You're gonna tighten up and you're gonna harden up a little bit in the upper body. It's gonna make you more sturdy.
Right.
Your abs are gonna get better. Your core is gonna get better. Your back's gonna get better. Your shoulders, your neck, all those things are gonna get better because you're holding weight up, above your body. But your legs are gonna get the real exercise. But But it's not just the legs. So there's not, even an arm curl, somebody wants to put an inch on their arms. Even arm curls and triceps, they're still secondary movers. And so you're not going to just tone something up.
Right.
And your best bet is to just do a little bit for everything.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Just train your entire body if nothing is preventing you from doing that, like an injury or something. But so many people, I've got the old car accident, I can't do my legs.
Yeah.
And an old football injury, I can't do legs, so I bench 6 times a week. Make up for my lack of a leg day, or I can't train my back because...
for whatever reason.
There's always ways, there's legitimate, but train everything that you can.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of, and a lot of people don't like machines, but I think that's the beauty of machines and dumbbells and cables is that you can do a lot of open chain movements where your feet aren't even touching the floor for that matter.
Yeah, it's not like you have to go and do 500-pound squats or crazy deadlifts and all this stuff to train a back or a leg muscle.
Right.
There's all sorts of cool machines and, like you said, cables, and maybe they are, maybe they're not as effective. A lot of it just depends on the effort level you put into it, but maybe they're safer for you as far as allowing you to. Something's better than nothing.
Right. Well, and so I kind of was thinking with those tips that we gave for, quote unquote spot reduction or just body fat reduction. Just like we say, 2 to 3 times a week of some sort of resistance training, and you can kind of structure that any way you want. And if you're a beginner or novice, which I think most people tend to fall into that category, less is more in terms of less volume, higher intensity. I would even say, if you are somebody that doesn't want to do closed chain movement, and when I say closed chain, I mean big compound heavy movements with your feet flat on the floor, like squat or deadlift or hang clean or power clean or standing barbell curls or or whatever, standing French presses. Mm-hmm. I brought that one out of my gym bag from about 1996. But no, I mean a seated row or a lat pull down for your back, a bench press or bench press machine of some kind for your for your front delts and pecs, and then like a leg press, you can, depending on where you put your legs, you can hit your hamstrings and your glutes and your quads. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't want to do a lot, those 3 exercises will probably cover a lot of your whole body.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Or like you've suggested several times, do a circuit a couple times a week.
It's probably most effective for a lot of people.
Absolutely, and it's already a lot of times mapped out on the machines at a gym. So. So something real simple if you're if you're already training hard and you're somebody that's like, well, I train, but I don't know what I'm doing wrong, then focus on the diet part. Mm-hmm. And maybe even the rest part.
Yep, you got it.
You want to knock out a couple of these
okay
article things here?
See what we have this week, or this episode.
So I think we're on number 8.
So this is, again, everybody out there, we're going through an old magazine. It's about 19, 20 years old, and it's just tips that they had listed for, I guess, building muscle. I think it's the only thing that we're talking about. Maybe there's other things in here, but we're just going to go through, and I think we went through, 5 or 10 of them so far. We're going to pick a couple more and see what we think.
Now, I don't remember. I know we did because we talked about it, but the squat is a growth exercise we did.
Yep.
Did we do elevating your heels?
No.
I don't think we did. Okay. Elevating your heels on plates or a board while squatting is the best, or is a bad idea because it exaggerates leg flexion and increases stress on your lower back and possibly your knees. How do you feel?
I can see that. I've done that quite a few times, and I always felt a little uncomfortable. I can definitely see it putting more stress on your knees. I can definitely feel that. Lower back, I'm not so for sure, but knees, I definitely. Now, again, I don't think if you're going to do something like that, I think it does put more stress on your quads.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe do that after your heavier sets or something like that, and then come back down in weight and do higher rep sets with a moderate weight, so you're not putting so much stress on your lower back and knees.
What do you think about maybe doing a normal squat? And follow me with this, ladies and gentlemen. A normal squat, but then maybe finding a way to do a sissy squat. Do you think that would be just as effective, or do you think there is merit to raising your heels when you squat? For quad development, that is.
I think it'd be kind of the same concept with the sissy squat. You're trying to put a little more stress directly on your quads due to getting your sissy squats I've done, my heels are elevated because you're up on your toes, basically. I've never been comfortable with them, so I don't use them hardly any.
Sure.
But I have known some people that had good result from it that felt comfortable doing them. Well, we would do that, though. We would go from regular squat and then go do a set of sissy squat, kind of like old Tom Flats type.
I was just about to say, if anybody ever wants to see a version of an extreme version, maybe not something everybody should do. But
I wouldn't necessarily
That's he's he's a very unique extreme case for that type of a movement because he's.
I think it's a little complicated. It's a little dangerous, and I don't know. I would tell most people just focus